Hi, Nicole here, and welcome to another video. Today I am going to show you some of my favorite features that I use in Lightroom when I am editing photos. And for this demonstration, I have 3 photos that I will walk through. This is the first sneaker reflection shot. This is the end result of my editing, so let's get to it. So this is when the image came into Lightroom. So this is the before. And as you can see, there's many different things that we're going to do. First, of course, is with the cropping, I'm going to just bring it in because I do not want to see the edge of the plexiglass. I'm going to bring it over. It's going to be pretty tight crop at the bottom. Make sure all the sneaker is in there. Okay. So the first tool is the white balance tool. So I will use the pointer here and I will go to a spot. Now luckily this shoe has some gray in it, so if I put the pointer there, click, it will adjust it. Now to me that's a little yellow, so I'm going to grab the pointer tool again and I am looking at the bottom numbers there. You can see the RGB and I want those pretty close to the similar number. So now that looks a little bit better. And that was at 46, 46, and 46. So that's pretty good. But the top of the frame of the image here, this top portion, it could be a little bit brighter. Now, we have 2 options. One is the brush tool. And if I just brought the brush tool in and started brushing away, and I went to shadows, and I went to whites, and I started bringing it up and brightening it, you can notice that there's kind of like this gray tone around the sneaker, almost like haloing, and it doesn't look very good. So I'm going to click my delete key, delete that out. What I would use in this type of instance so if this is your product photography, this is great. I use the gradient filter, this box, and you'll see this plus sign. Now if I click on the image and start moving it, you can move it all around the page and really zone in on where you need it to be. But here's a tip. I'm going to delete this. I'm going to hold down my shift key and that will allow me to make sure that it is straight. I'm going to release and you can see I stopped the line about here and I wanted to gradually brighten up that space once I start using the shadows and the whitening. You can see that halo is not happening when you're using that filter. You can even go to exposure a little bit, but I don't want the sneaker to alter in any way. That looks a lot better. So I click done and that's there. If I ever wanted to go back, I could click on the filter again and you can see this little gray button has appeared. I can now click on that and now I can adjust it again. If I was curious to what area it affected, I could click the O button and now you see all this red is showing and you can actually see the graduated filter going down the image. And if I want to click that off, I just hit O again and then I click done. And now I can move on to other features of the image. Okay, so that is a couple of the things I wanted to hit on for this image. We talked about white balance. We talked about a little bit about the brush. Definitely the graduated filter is where I wanted to show you for this image. Okay. For my next image, this is some food photography. This is the finished image I'll bring in when I first brought it into Lightroom, a little crooked there, but I will of course fix that crop and find the composition that I would like. Okay, so make it straight until it feels good based on what you were shooting for. Okay, so that looks great. So again, we could do that graduated filter. For here, I always do a white balance. Now we have the silver plate here, the silver top plate here. This is almost all across the board. That looks pretty good. If something looks a little bit like it's too yellow, you could always use the temperature and just kind of slide it down, see how blue that's getting. So there's a fine balance with the white balance. So once you do use, just gonna the pointer and change the white balance, you see that this is turned to custom. When you click on custom, you have all sorts of options. I tend to either go as shot or custom, but you can see you can kind of play around with all of these based on the lighting situations that you're in. But trust your eye, you can tell if it's balanced or not. Okay, so then now I'm going to go in here with my brush tool. I'm going to click on that O again, and now you can see I've hit the hand a little bit with that brush, which the hand looks great. So I do not want that affected. So as you can see, there's a plus symbol in the middle of my circle. I'm going to hold down the Option key, and now you can see it's minus. And minus means now I can take that filter away from that area. And now when I click on the O and take the red away, when I make my adjustments to the background to brighten that up, you can actually see the little halo. So I'm going to reduce the circle size or the brush size just with scrolling my mouse, or you can do the brackets on the keyboard, and I'm just going to go in and kind of paint in along the hand. Okay, now I do like the background. Okay, we'll kind of paint in everywhere we want here and kind of fade in. The hand though, I do want to adjust, but maybe not at the level of the white background. Now I'm going to click on New, and now I have a second brush. So now I can brush in on the hand and maybe not go as bright as I did with the background. Maybe a little bit more. So now we have two brushes. If I click on the O, the letter O, you can see I'm just isolating that hand and clicking that off and saying done. Okay, now we're going on to the third image, and I'm going to highlight another great feature. So we've talked about the white balance, the brush, the gradient filter, and then this is another, a fourth feature that I love in Lightroom. So I'm going to bring this in as I shot it. You can see I have my reflector here on the side. So the first thing, I'm just going to crop it to where I need it to be. That looks good. I don't need that sign up above, and the crop's there. Just going to straighten it a little bit. Here we go. White balance, number one. So we have a lot of great items in here. So let's see, that's going to be a little yellow. Yep. So this is white. I'm looking at those numbers to see if we can get them as close as we can. That's pretty good. Okay. It's looking a little green to me. I'm going to try the white balance in another zone. Maybe this. Okay. I like that. It's a little bit warmer too. All right, so I'm just going to move this a little bit. So we can go through and open up the shadows and make it a little bit brighter, and we can use our brush tool again and brush in, isolate those, bring it a little bit brighter as well. But the main tool and feature in Lightroom that I wanted to demonstrate here is, I'm just going to click done for that brush, is the transform tool. Because I'm shooting a little bit low on the vases, I can tell that this, just looking at this back wall, it's pushing back a little bit. It's not completely parallel. You'll see this in architectural photography, but this transform tool is great. So if I use the vertical and start moving it oh so gently, you can see it's starting to straighten out that shot and maybe making it a little bit more parallel. Now, when I do this, you can notice on the side here, there's some white because there's no information there in the image. So I'm just going to change the crop, make sure all the information is there. And then now that makes more sense to me. That makes more sense to the eye. And then I'm going to use the brush tool up here, and I'm just going to brighten that up a little bit. We wanted kind of a, maybe with the contrast too, and some texture. Make it a little bit brighter, a little bit more balanced. Okay, and I'll kind of click on the O. You can see I was just using the brush tool back here, and that looks good. Okay, so we went through the white balance, the gradient filter, the brush tool, and then on this image, love the transform tool to kind of change those perspectives. Okay, let me know if you love these tools too, if this was something new that you've learned and you want to see more videos like this. Let me know if you have any questions, and I'll talk to you soon.